All right, so many of us are very familiar with Franklin because Franklin has spoken here for many, many times over many years and was a very good friend of the New York Times, our founding minister. Franklin Abbott was born in, well, I won't say unless you want me to, in Birmingham, Alabama. He grew up in Birmingham, Buffalo, and Nashville, and as a kid, Franklin marched to the beat of his own drummer, which wasn't always well received by his buttoned-down family. But in high school, he found an outlet for at least some of his creative energy in a youth service group called the Order of Demolay. Coming out as gay during college, Franklin was simultaneously drawn towards the women's and black liberation movements. The writings of Adrienne Rich and Audre Lorde opened his eyes to feminism as a force of liberation for both women and men. Franklin would ultimately publish 3 anthologies on men and gender: New Men, New Minds in 1987, Men and Intimacy in 1989, and Boyhood, Growing Up Male in 1991. I think that's enough because we really want to hear from Franklin himself, and so I will turn it over to you. Thank you for being here, Franklin.
You can go on the internet and find out just about anything about anybody.
Yes.
And I'm learning things about myself that I forgot. Well, I'm glad to be here. I always appreciate the invitation. It gives me the opportunity to challenge myself, to put together something that hopefully will be entertaining and informative. And I've been working with Alan for a few months. I have a new book out, and I was scheduling performances, and I wanted to do some music with the performance, and I hadn't sung in public since before COVID. So I thought, well, I need to find somebody who will coach me. And Alan came over initially to tune my piano. This is one of the best piano tuners around, and I found out that he plays multiple instruments, is a singer himself, writes music. So he's been a really fun person to work with, and I'm happy that we're here. And I'll do some music with the talk that he and I have worked on. And the theme that I wanted to talk about is that, you know, we all have a jukebox in our head, and maybe you don't acknowledge that, but what happens with the jukebox, there are 2 things that you can think of. One is that songs, in particular, are evocative. Now, it could be a song that brings out good feelings in you, or it could be a song that brings sad feelings, or, you know, it's a breakup song, or a makeup song. We all have songs that were not necessarily placed there by ourselves. You know, I have songs from my childhood, Maresy Dotes and Dozy Dotes and Little Lambsy Divey. Now I could drive myself crazy with that, of course. But if I hear it, you know, it's almost impossible not to think of my mother. And because she was the one who sang it. Likewise, when we are younger, I would say, particularly when we're in our teens and our early 20s, and more social, and we go out and we're dancing more and attending concerts, most of us develop a musical crush or 2 or 3, you know, on different artists, and then we will have favorite songs. And, you know, I wore out LPs, playing them over and over and over again. And then there was the 8-track, which would play itself over and over and over again. I liked that. to, talk a little bit about the songs that I have selected to work with and why. And initially, these were just songs to play with. We were going to do other songs, songs that I had written, but these were so much fun to do that I thought, well, we'll do them again. And then I started asking myself, well, why did you choose these particular songs? Why in the jukebox of my mind did these songs pop out? And I'm not sure I have a clear answer, but I'll pretend like I do. So, one of the things that I was looking to do was to match poems from the book with songs. And so, let me read you a poem and then I'll sing you the song that I think matches even just a little bit with it. This poem is about my mother's mother, whom I call Mama. And I was the first grandson, so the first grandchild, so I got to make up all of my grandparents' names. Which is, I think, the job of the first grandchild. Mama was not terribly original. I'm sure if a show of hands, there would be several Mamas that we have, I had a Nana, too, that was equally original. But Mama, my mother's mother. My grandmother told me the story of her name when I asked for who she was named for, or how she came to be named Christine. Christine was the 13th of 14 for her father and the 9th of 10 for her mother. Her older brother Leslie died of influenza before the close of the First World War. Her closest sister, Amalta, became a grand diva of the Eastern Star of Alabama. If you don't know what the Eastern Star is, they are a women's, it's basically I wouldn't call them the women's auxiliary to the Mason, because the Masons are probably the men's auxiliary to the Eastern Star. Women run things, in that world. But that was her, she was very grand in that way. And she was married to the postmaster of Birmingham, even though they lived in Alabaster, and died childless, which is why I sit on her horsehair overstuffed Victorian sofa. So if you're ever in my house, sitting in one of those big old pieces of furniture in my living room, so were many members of the Eastern Star once upon a time. My grandmother told me she had gone with her mother to the factory where she worked, where she sat outside to wait and was told not to move, when the woman she was named for, a friend of her mother's, stopped in front of her and asked the question, "Do you know who I am?" I asked her if she did, and what did she say? She was only 6 or 7. She looked at me with her cow brown eyes without blinking and told me plain, "I spit in her face." This is my grandmother. By the time of our conversation, her Parkinson's disease made help necessary for everything manual. I fed her now just like she fed me when I was tiny. I held the straw to her mouth while she suckled a vanilla milkshake. I brought with the onion rings she loved from Sonic Drive-In. I always cried afterwards alone in the elevator of McKendree Manor, but while we were together only smiled as she smiled back at me, happy for the next bite, the next sip, and the next salutation. Between the spiteful child and the grateful elder, a life poured smooth and round as a stone in a mountain brook. The thing that links me to the song that I'll share with you, I always assumed all of my grandparents were agrarian in their background. That, and I know this to be true of the other three. They were all brought up on farms. They all left the farm for the city. But my grandmother grew up in the city, and I had no idea that her mother worked in a mill or a factory. And in Birmingham, it would be doubtless be a steel factory, because that's all there was. So one of my, favorite singers, one of the musicians, singer-songwriters who takes up a lot of room in my jukebox is James Taylor. And he wrote a story song called Mill Worker, which attracted me, partly because it's written in the voice of a woman, and partly because it just tells a story about what that kind of life was like for people. So this is that. Now my grandfather was a sailor. He blew in off the water. My father was a farmer, and I, his only daughter, took up with an no-good mill-working man from Massachusetts who dies from too much whiskey and leaves me these three faces to feed. Mill work ain't easy, mill work ain't hard, mill work it ain't nothing but an awful boring job. I'm waiting for a daydream to take me through the morning and put me in my coffee break where I can have a sandwich and remember. Then it's me and my machine for the rest of the morning and the rest of the afternoon and the rest of my life. Now my mind begins to wander to the days back on the farm. I can see my father smiling at me, swinging on his arm. I can hear my granddad's stories of the storms out on Lake Erie, where vessels and cargoes and fortunes and sailors' lives were lost. Yes, but it's my life that has been wasted, and I have been the fool to let this manufacturer use my body as a tool. I can ride home in the evening, staring at my hands, swearing by my sorrow that a young girl ought to stand a better chance. So may I work the mills just as long as I am able, and never meet the man whose name is on the label. It be me and my machine for the rest of the morning and the rest of the afternoon and the rest of my life. Maybe I, put that in your jukebox now? There's so many wonderful James Taylor songs. He's such a talent. One of the things that I think is probably true of all of us is that we share a sense of horror about events that are happening in our country. And it's, you know, it's sort of the horror of the day. But one of the things that is ongoing that I find so awful is the whole issue of migration and what is happening with people who are here in this country working and contributing, but may not have full legal status. It's a scary, scary time. So the poem that will lead to the next song is one that I wrote about that particular phenomenon. I read a story, and this didn't happen in our country, but in the Mediterranean, where a boat full of refugees was trying to come ashore on a European island, and not only were they pushed back, but the authorities took the motor out of their boat and left them adrift in the ocean. It's called You Bless Our Future. Refugee, how to flee? First question, how deep is the sea? How wide is the land? Can we withstand? Second question, floating in uncertainty, will I be allowed or returned? Third question, should I relent or persist? If I am where I have chosen to be, if I have fled my homeland, if I have taken my children and elders on a long march from home to the sea, and if we have been given life jackets, more life expectancy than we had, and we were thirsty and hungry and holding on to each other, and we know a sister was about to give birth, and then they stole the motor from our boat and pushed us back with their oars, and we languished in the unforgiving sea. We did not stop loving each other. We gave each other breath. How many days did we love each other into life? How did we learn that famished hands, exhausted hands, old hands, children hands, hold, 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 and we held on. For us, and for you born here now anew, we knew you were coming. We knew we were bringing you to peace and plenty. You bless our future, our future. You bless our future. So the song that I wanted to, again, that kind of woke up, you know, in my jukebox, is a relatively new song. A lot of the Millworker song has been in my jukebox for a long time. But this is, you know, less than a decade, I would say, since this song came out. And again, it's a singer whose voice I enjoy a lot, and he's an excellent songwriter. And Gregory Porter, and it's hard to choose among his songs, you know, but for the sake of what we're doing here, this is called Take Me to the Alley. Well, they gild their houses in preparation for the king, and they line the sidewalks with every sort of shiny thing. They will be surprised when they hear him say, take me to the alley, take me to the afflicted ones, take me to the lonely ones that somehow lost their way. Let them hear me say, I am Come to my table, rest here in my garden. You will have a pardon. Take me to the alley. Take me to the afflicted ones. Take me to the lonely ones that somehow lost their ways. Let them hear me say, I am your friend. Come to my table, rest here in my garden. You will have a pardon. They will be surprised when they hear him say, take me to the alley, take me to the afflicted ones, take me to the lonely ones that somehow lost their way. Let them hear me say, I am your friend. Come to my table, rest here in my garden. You will have a pardon. You will have a pardon. The thing that I'm aware of as I get older, and I've recently turned 75, which is kind of amazing to me that I could be three-quarters of a century old, and still here, kind of walking around, and I feel like myself between about 10 o'clock in the morning and about 8 o'clock at night, you know. It's still me. But I'm aware of vulnerability, and I'm aware of really two things. One is that we live with a lot of loss, and that you're still here. And everybody I know who has, lived, into their later years in life, they are very much themselves. They are, I am, like Franklin times 7 now. So, as one of my therapists once said, you're a strong cup of coffee. And I said, me? Anyway, let me read you a poem about sort of the vulnerability that we're often experiencing as we get older, and we deal with those people who have been in our lives for a long, long time, and also we deal with some of the goodbyes that happen. I'm sitting with 4 of my closest women friends in my friend Ray Lynn's kitchen We're eating strawberries and pineapple and vegetable crudités and putting hummus on gluten-free crackers. The table is arrayed with pottery from LaDonna, a gift from her and her potter lawyer husband, and we are all talking about pain. If I could guess, I was a 2, and Jill was a 3, and LaDonna was a 6, and Emily and Raylyn each a 7. We all explained and empathized and talked about trauma and pain, the parts that hurt, healing and how we heal, and alluded to the fear, age will eclipse healing. We ate fruit and nuts, and at the end, we ate a gluten-free chocolate torte that tasted like a candy bar and sang happy birthday to each other. We talked about the 2 of us who were missing. Pat and Barb died much too young when COVID had us all locked down. Pat in her early 60s, Barb in her early 70s, gone too soon, like drowning victims whose hands we could not hold, whose lives we could not save, who we lost to the currents that might have taken us too. Jill said softly, maybe it was them who let go. Maybe it was their turn. Maybe it was something we could not fathom. Maybe I will be the next or you will be the next, but the next will precede another next until there is a last. Emily had brought a box of trinkets from Pat's office. I selected a stone orb and a little metal bird that will house a candle. I took half a dozen pieces of the pottery LaDonna gave us, mugs and tiny vases secured in a box of colored tissues. Emily drove me home in her little yellow car down the Stone Mountain Freeway. She said she was driving like a race car driver, but I was unafraid. She has the skill. And I was full of gluten-free chocolate torte with a box of ceramics and chocolates in the back seat and had no fear. We are all headed in the same direction. Some of us will get there first. Some of us will be later than sooner, but I know in the end there will be cake and strawberries and stories about what happened, and we will laugh and sigh and hold our breaths until the last of us finishes the race and joins the rest of us in a party that will never end. So, the next song requires a sip of water. It's another relatively recent, addition to the jukebox. Several years ago, is part of an effort to, get my brain moving a little bit faster. I decided to take music lessons just to take music lessons, not for any reason to perform. And what I found is that the songs that I liked the best to learn were difficult songs. So I picked out composers whose work was not easy, but that I liked the song. And one of those composers is Stephen Sondheim. And this is a song I heard first sung by Bernadette Peters, who is absolutely magical. It's called Not a Day Goes By. Not a day goes by, not a single day, but you're somewhere a part of my life, and it looks like you'll stay as the days go by. I keep thinking, when does it end? Where's the day I'll started forgetting, but I just go cursing and crying and turning and reaching and waking and dying, and no, not a day goes by, not a blessed day, but you're still somehow part of my life, and you won't go away, so there's hell to pay, and until I die, I'll die day after day after day after day after day after day, till the days go by, till the days go by, till the days go by. Appreciate it. I think rather than introduce the last one with a poem, I'll just tell you a little story, because this is a real jukebox story. When I was 20, somewhere between my freshman and sophomore years in college, I worked in a diner in upstate New York, near Blue Mountain Lake. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And it was a crazy little, Alice's restaurant kind of situation where a friend of mine and several other friends were doing something we didn't know how to do. None of us had ever done this before. I was assigned to be the cook, and I didn't know how to cook. But people came down off of a mountain trail, and they were very hungry, so we always made money. It was also the summer before I came out, and I experienced a lot of melancholy because I didn't know how that was going to go. It was 1970. There really were not very many role models at all. And I would have a moment at the end of the day where everybody else in the restaurant had left, and I evidently had some kind of duty I had to do to be the last one out. And we had a big, beautiful plate glass window that overlooked Blue Mountain Lake. And by the window was the jukebox. And it was an old-timey jukebox with lights and all this, that, and the other. So the thing that I would do is I would sit down by the jukebox, look out at the lake, and sort of, I don't know that you can necessarily enjoy your melancholy, but to the degree that I could. And there was always one song that I wanted to hear, which was Judy Collins' version of Who Knows Where the Time Goes. I always wanted to hear that song every day. And the jukebox man would come once a week, and he'd open up the back of the jukebox and take the money out and put some records in. It wouldn't change altogether, but there would be change in the records that were in the jukebox. And I finally, got up the courage one time and I said, "Can you tell me how you decide whether a record stays or not?" And he said, "Oh, sure." And so this is before computers. And there were nickel strips, that every time you pressed A4, it put an indentation into the strip. And so if there were lots of indentations in the strip, he was making money off that record. He was not going to take it out of the jukebox. I had absolutely nothing to worry about. That record was played more than any other. So let me close with this. Who Knows Where the Time Goes. It was written by Sandy Denny and recorded with Fairport Convention. Very different version from Judy Collins' lovely mellifluous version, and I don't know what my version is. It's somewhere between one and the other. So. morning sky. All the birds are leaving. Ah, how can they know it's time for them to go? Before the winter fire, we'll still be dreaming. I do not count time. Who knows where the time goes? Who knows where the time goes? Sad deserted shore, your fickle friends are leaving. Ah, but then you know it's time for them to go. But I will still be here. I have no thought of leaving. I do not count time. Who knows where the time goes? Who knows where the time goes? And I'm not alone while my love is near me. And I know it will be so till it's time to go. So come the storms of winter, and then the birds in spring again. I do not fear the